There are structures in the world that seem grand, not just because they stand, but because they have chosen to remain standing. Earthquakes have shaken them, fires have engulfed them, empires have crumbled before their eyes, but they are still there, in the same place, with the same stones. It is as if time itself has given up on eroding them, as if the stone took a conscious decision to resist the flow of history. In the heart of Rome, amidst all that chaos and silence, such a structure exists. When you stand before it for the first time, you forget to take a photograph. Because no photograph can hold that moment. That moment consists only of you and it. You feel as if the stone is trying to tell you something. If the structure could speak, it would tell a very long story. But first, it would try to listen to you. It would try to understand how many generations have stood before the same stone, how many different languages have pondered in silence. And that story does not begin beautifully. In the 70s AD, Rome was in the midst of a political upheaval. Emperor Nero had lost his throne, leaving behind a deep mistrust. The people did not believe in emperors. Senators were cautious. The soul of the city was fragile. Moreover, Nero's legacy stood over the city not only as a political crisis, but also as a physical burden. A massive, private, magnificent palace, Domus Aurea, a monument dedicated to an emperor's vanity, built in the very center of the city on lands that should have belonged to the public, with vast artificial lakes and gold-plated halls. At this exact point, the new Emperor Vespasian stepped onto the stage, a modest former soldier, and in the very center of the city, over the artificial lake of Nero's magnificent palace, he decided to build something, a structure he would gift to his people. This decision was not an ordinary architectural choice. It was a political message. What was private was being returned to the public. A space that served the taste of a single person was being transformed into a venue that would be the voice of thousands. And that message was etched into stone. The Colosseum was completed in 8 to 10 years. This duration seems almost incredible considering the size of the structure. To raise a 4-story structure 188 meters long, 156 meters wide, 48 meters high, with a capacity of approximately 50,000 people in less than 10 years, thousands of people had to work simultaneously. Free workers, craftsmen, engineers, and captives. All were moving toward the same goal, and they truly worked. Roman architects had perfected the arch. Thanks to distributing the weight along a wide curve rather than a single point, massive masses could be kept standing. This was not only an aesthetic choice, it was also a static solution, an invention standing on that fine line where engineering turns into architecture. The amount of stone used in the structure was so immense that special roads were paved from Tivoli to Rome. The concrete mixture used was so durable that modern engineers still examine it with amazement. Some suggest that this material reacted with seawater and hardened even more over the centuries. Rome's stone was strengthening instead of weakening as time passed. When looking at the exterior facade, 3 different column orders catch the eye. The simple and strong Doric at the bottom, the elegant Ionic in the middle, the slender and ornate Corinthian at the top. It is as if the structure lightens as it rises, the stone almost breathes. This arrangement was also an indication of how the Romans assimilated and transformed the Greek heritage, Greek forms framed by Roman power. In 80 AD, Emperor Titus opened the structure. The opening ceremony lasted 100 days. Vespasian did not see the opening of the structure. He had lost his life when the construction was almost finished. But his son Titus delivered not just a structure, but a promise to the people at that opening. When you enter the structure today, you cannot see a wooden floor. That floor has rotted, and what was hidden for centuries underneath is now exposed. A labyrinth of dark, deep corridors. Animal cages, equipment warehouses, mechanisms. The entire show was managed from this underground. Thanks to elevators and trapdoors, animals and warriors could emerge onto the stage as if springing from the ground. For the spectators, this sudden appearance was partly magic and partly deliberate dramaturgy. Sand was used in the arena. This choice was both practical and symbolic. It stabilized the ground and kept the show organized. The word arena itself already means sand in Latin. So much sand was poured that the word itself became the name of the venue. The spectator seats were a social map. At the very bottom sat the senators and the imperial family. As you went up, ordinary citizens came, and in the topmost rows were the poorest segments of society. Separate sections were designated for women. Vestal virgins could sit in a privileged position. The Colosseum was not just an entertainment venue. It was a concrete expression of how Rome saw itself. Hierarchy was etched into the stone steps. Entrance to the Colosseum was free. Every citizen could watch. Even some records report that food and drink were distributed to the spectators during regular shows. Rome was not just attracting the spectator, it was hosting them. It is easy to think of gladiators as war machines, but the reality is more complex and much more human. Most gladiators consisted of captured warriors or free men in great debt. When they were taken into training academies, ludus in Latin, their lives changed completely. They ate regular meals, were treated when injured, and lived in a routine with determined sleep and rest hours. Because they were an investment, they were being prepared not to die, but to fight again and again. The early death of a gladiator was a serious financial loss for an organizer. There were different types: those heavily armored, those using nets, those with short swords, those with tridents, and these pairings were chosen consciously. Speed against power, the heavy against the agile. To offer the spectator the most exciting encounter, fights were built on a dramatic contrast. The viewer was following not just a result, but a narrative. Contrary to common belief, most fights did not result in death. When one side was cornered, he would raise his hand and ask for mercy. This decision was mostly given by the spectator crowd, with their cheers, with their hand gestures. The voice of the people carried a real power at that moment. Even if the emperor was in the gallery, ignoring the direction of the crowd carried a political risk. In the Colosseum, the crowd could be more powerful than they thought. Gladiators who survived and won turned into urban legends. Their names were written on walls, their stories spread from mouth to mouth. Some won their freedom, some built a completely different life with the money they earned. In the 2nd century, the poet Juvenal once said, "The people want two things, bread and shows." In Latin, it is actually sharper, panem et circenses. This two-word formula was actually the essence of Roman governance, but it was also a universal observation, pointing to a much broader truth about how power approaches the people, not just in Rome. Emperors used the Colosseum not only to entertain the people, but also to govern the people. Organizing grand shows was both a matter of prestige and a political gesture. While the people were busy, while the people were happy, there was no room for opposition. The Colosseum was a safety valve, a giant mechanism that released the accumulated energy of society in a controlled manner. Trajan organized shows lasting 123 days upon returning from a victory. Domitian organized night shows, lit torches, filled the arena with water, and staged sea battles. Every emperor put his own stamp on this arena. The bigger the show, the more legitimate the power was, and the spectators knew this, but they came anyway. Because the Colosseum was not just a place of show, it was a venue where the common memory of the city gathered. To be there was to be a part of Rome. Making that sound together in those stands, to rejoice, to shout, to sit shoulder to shoulder in cramped rows, created a partnership, a collective experience. And this experience worked like an invisible thread binding the city together. Nothing lasts forever. As Rome weakened, the Colosseum also changed. Towards the end of the 4th century, as Christianity became the state religion, the perspective on gladiator shows began to change. Gladiator shows ended in the 5th century. Animal fights lasted a bit longer, but they also gradually decreased. The structure grew silent. Under the arches that once held the voices of 50,000 people, only the wind was now wandering. During the Middle Ages, the Colosseum was used for different purposes. Residences were established inside. A small church was built. It functioned as a warehouse for a period. Powerful families used the structure like a fortress. During certain periods, they went up to its walls and watched the city. Great earthquakes damaged the southern facade, and the falling stones became material for other structures. Some researchers estimate that a large portion of the original stones were dismantled and moved over time. Rome's largest monument helped Rome rebuild itself step by step. A symbol of empire had turned into the city's stone quarry. In the 18th century, poets and writers rediscovered the Colosseum. Byron sat there and plunged into his thoughts. Goethe looked at its walls for a long time. This structure, which had turned into a ruin, made them feel both greatness and transience at the same time. It fit perfectly with the spirit of the Romantic era. Majesty and collapse together within the same stone. When you read what poets wrote about the Colosseum, you feel that they were not describing the building, but their own mortality. That feeling is still valid today. Every year, millions of people pass through these arches. They take photos, they listen, they feel. Some come curious about history, some just to see. Some holding their child's hand, some at the end of a journey they dreamed of for years. But they all have a common moment. The moment they stand before those stones. The moment something slows down inside them. The noise of the city distances itself. The mind steps aside a bit, and one finds oneself alone with this structure, with 2,000 years of silence. Perhaps to ask this question, what will remain of us 2,000 years later? And what those remains will say about us?